You open Telegram, tap into settings, and there is a session sitting in your active sessions list logged in from a city you have never set foot in. Maybe it is a country on the other side of the world. Maybe it is just an unfamiliar name a few states over. Your first instinct is to panic, maybe start smashing terminate on everything in sight. Before you do that, it is worth understanding what that screen is actually built from, because most of the time it is not what you think. That reaction makes sense on the surface. An unrecognized login is exactly the kind of thing security advice tells you to worry about. And Telegram does not label the entries for you. It just shows an IP and a rough location and leaves you to figure out what it means. So let's actually figure it out. I manage Telegram hosting and proxy infrastructure for a living, so this exact question lands in my inbox more than almost any other one does. Clients see their own bot server show up as a device in a country they have never visited, and they assume the account has been compromised, sometimes minutes before they were about to ship something. So let's walk through this in the same order. I'd walk a client through it, starting with what that screen actually is. Open Settings, then Devices, and you are looking at the closest thing Telegram gives you to a login history. Every row on that screen is one active session, meaning one authorized client instance connected to your account. Desktop, mobile, web, a user bot script running on a server somewhere, each one gets its own row because each one holds its own authorization key that got issued the moment it logged in. That list is not a record of every action you have taken inside the app. It is a list of currently valid sessions, each with the last active timestamp attached. If a session has not been terminated, it just sits there indefinitely, even if you have not opened that particular client in months. It is presence, not activity. 4 things show up per session: app name and version, device name, IP address, and an approximate location. People tend to treat all 4 as equally solid evidence, and that is where most of the confusion starts, because these 4 fields do not come from the same place and they do not carry the same weight. About name, version, and device name are self-reported. When a client authenticates, it sends a string describing itself, and Telegram just displays that string back to you. The same way a name tag at a conference is whatever someone wrote on it, not proof of who they actually are. That is why you can rename a session's device label in some clients, and why a script talking to the Telegram API can call itself basically anything it wants. If you are auditing your own account, do not treat the device name as proof of hardware. Treat it as a label the client chose to send. The IP address is different. It is real. It is the address of the TCP connection that actually authenticated the sessions seen from the server side, and it is not spoofable the way a device name is. Location is derived from that IP through a geolocation lookup, and this is the part that trips almost everyone up. It is a city-level estimate based on which network block the IP belongs to, not a GPS fix, and it has nothing to do with any location permission you have granted the app. Geolocation databases attribute an address to wherever the owning ISP or hosting provider has registered that block, which can be off by a city, a region, or sometimes an entire country. This is especially true for mobile carrier IP ranges, where a phone connected to a 4G tower in one city can show up registered to the carrier's regional hub 100 miles away. And for hosting provider ranges, where the registration address has nothing to do with where the physical server actually sits. This is the case I deal with more than any other. If you are running a Telegram bot or a user bot on a VPS as part of a hosting setup, that session's IP belongs to the data center, not to you. The geolocation database reports whatever city the hosting provider's IP block is registered to, which is often not even the city the physical server sits in, and almost never the city you are sitting in while you manage it. A session showing up in Frankfurt or in a US data center hub you have never visited usually just means that is where your hosting provider's IP range is registered. Here's a scenario I see constantly. Someone spins up a small VPS to run a user bot, logs Telegram into it once to get the authorization done, then does not touch that session again for weeks. Next time they open their own devices list, there is an entry sitting in some data center region they cannot immediately place. Last active a few minutes ago because the script just pulled the API. Their first read is that someone is inside their account right now. The actual explanation is that their own script is just running exactly as configured from exactly the server they set up, And the only thing unfamiliar about it is that they forgot to write down where that particular provider's IP block is registered. The fix here is not panic, it is memory. Before you sit down to review your sessions, know which ones correspond to your own deployments, your own bots, your own scripts. Build that map once and keep it updated. That way, an unfamiliar looking entry is actually informative instead of just alarming, and you do not end up terminating a session you actually need running. Proxies change this picture directly. If you connect Telegram through a proxy, whether that is a SOCKS 5 proxy or an mtproto proxy, the IP that reaches Telegram servers is the proxy's exit IP, not your ISP assigned address. That is not a side effect, it is the entire mechanism. A proxy sits between your client and Telegram servers and relays the traffic, so from the server's point of view, the connection originated at the proxy. People run Telegram through proxies for a few concrete reasons. To get a stable connection when their ISP throttles or blocks Telegram's own IP ranges outright. To cut connection latency to a specific data center so messages and calls feel snappier. Or to keep several accounts routed through separate, consistent network paths for operational reasons, so each account's session history stays coherent over time. Whatever the reason, the consequence for your login history is identical either way. Your session list is going to show the proxy's location, not yours. This matters even more once you are running more than one bot or user bot at a time. If every deployment routes through its own proxy, and you keep no record of which proxy maps to which account, your own session list starts looking like a string of random logins, even though every single one of them is something you configured on purpose. The fix is boring, and it is the same fix every time. Write it down when you set it up, not after you are staring at an unfamiliar city wondering if you have been hacked. If you switch proxies, or your proxy's exit node changes, you will see a session's location shift on that screen, even though nothing about the underlying device changed at all. That is expected behavior, not a sign anything has gone wrong, as long as you actually know which proxy you configured for which session. The panic only makes sense when the change is one you cannot account for. Bin-pepper proxies work a little differently. They are visible to Telegram at the protocol layer in a way a generic SOCKS 5 proxy is not, since mtproto proxy support is built directly into the client and negotiated as part of the connection itself. Functionally though, the result on your session list is the same, an IP and a location that belong to the proxy, not to your home or office connection. Terminating a session revokes that session's authorization key. That is the whole mechanism. The next time that client tries to connect, it has to log in again from scratch, which means entering the phone number, the login code sent fresh, and the two-step verification password if you have one set. No shortcuts, no cached credential sitting somewhere that lets it back in quietly. The session simply stops being valid the instant you press terminate. What terminating does not do is retroactively touch your message history. Cloud chats in Telegram are stored server-side and synced across every authorized device, so messages already sent or received from a session you just killed remain part of your account's history everywhere else. Secret chats are the exception. They are end-to-end encrypted and tied to the specific device pair that created them, so they do not sync and are not stored server-side the same way. There is also a single terminate all other sessions action, which kills every session except the one you are currently on. It is the blunt instrument option, useful when you are not sure which specific session is the actual problem. Scanning a Telegram QR code from another device, usually to log into Telegram web or desktop, creates a brand new session bound to whichever device confirmed the scan. It shows up in your active sessions list like any other login, with its own app label, IP, and location. If a session appears right after you scan the QR code, work backward. Did you actually initiate that login, and from what device? An unfamiliar location with no matching action from you is the one scenario on this whole list actually worth taking seriously. It is worth being precise about what this screen does not tell you to. It does not show carrier information, it does not expose GPS level positioning, and it does not track in-app behavior beyond the fact that a session exists and when it was last active. Bots you talk to see your user ID and username and whatever profile info you have made public, not your IP and not your device list. Live location sharing inside a chat is a separate feature you opt into per conversation. It has nothing to do with what shows up on the device's screen. The real backstop in all of this is your two-step verification password, sometimes called your cloud password. Even if someone has your phone number and can intercept your SMS login code, they cannot get past the session where the account also asks for that separate password. Set one if you have not, and treat it the way you would treat the password to your email, because functionally that is what it is protecting. A few habits actually matter here. Check the device's screen periodically, not only when something feels off. Keep a mental or written map of which sessions belong to your own infrastructure, your proxies, your devices, current at all times. And when a session's location does not match anything you set up or remember configuring, terminate it and change your two-step password rather than sitting there guessing what happened. If you are running Telegram bots, user bots, or several accounts across proxies and want the network side of it built properly from the start, we run managed Telegram hosting and proxy infrastructure on dedicated Singapore hardware over at telegramvault.org. That's the whole picture behind that screen. If this saved you from terminating a session you actually needed, subscribe for more of this